So, are we live on YouTube also?
It does not appear that we're live on YouTube yet. It seems that Restream is still working on that. So we'll go ahead and just move forward with Facebook for now, and we'll
Okay,
see what
cool.
comes online. We've already got a few questions rolling in. The first question is from Asim, and he wants to know, what is your favorite camera for landscape photography?
Okay, my favorite camera for landscape, and that's not a secret, is the Sony A7R II. And the reason it's my favorite camera is because, first of all, it's very light. Actually, let me show it to you. Let me get it. And I'm back. So that's my favorite camera. It's the Sony A7R II. I added this because the problem with Sony is the battery dries out very fast. It's lighter than a DSLR. It's still heavy because when you put a big lens, it's still heavy. And I shoot mostly with 3 lenses. This is the I'm trying this lens. It's the Semyon. It's a very cheap lens, $299, 14mm 2.8. I use it for astrophotography. And so I've got 2 batteries, Sony A7R II. I use a lot the 24-240, a lot for landscape, and I have also the 16-35, but I'm actually buying a new one because I broke it. I broke it in Joshua Tree. It fell 10 feet on a rock and exploded.
That's when you're doing the shoot out. Where were you then?
I was in Joshua Tree National Park, and there was a bit of a wind, and my tripod was not spread out completely. You know, it was like this. And I don't know, I just looked around, and there was a bit of a wind, and the tripod just fell 10 feet onto another rock. Like the whole camera fell like this. Bam! And the 1635 exploded and protected the camera, in fact. But I still had $600 of repair on the camera. And I didn't bring the 1635 for repair because it was like literally a puzzle. So I have to buy a new one. I'm actually getting the G Master one, the 1635, which is really expensive, but you know, what the hell? That's what I do for a living. So, so Sony A7R II. And the reason I use it because it's very light and because it's got a great dynamic range, meaning I shoot sunset all the time. And I used to do HDR all the time. I do HDR sometimes when it's crazy, but I also do, sometimes I don't do HDR. And when you shoot right into the sun, you get all the details because the dynamic range of the camera is great. That's what dynamic range means, basically. So that's why I use it. It's good for my back and it's great for the images. All right, Mike, any other questions? Because I don't see the questions now.
Yeah, we got it. They're rolling in. How do you know if you over-edited a picture in Lightroom? What I mean is, what's your threshold? When do you feel done?
That's a great question. So now I've developed a new technique over the years. Is I retouch my photo and then I go do something else for 10-15 minutes, or I just put it aside, let it rest, like bread that you're making. I let it rest and I looked at different things. I walk around and I come back to it. Because the problem is your eyes adapt to the photo. That's something I realized. And so by looking something else, I can see if it's too much or not. And you know what? The way I retouch my photo is like, if I like it really very much, and as I grow older as a photographer, I try to be more and more natural, if that means anything. Yeah, that's what I do. I let it rest, like for example, or I look at black and white colors for 10 minutes and then I look at it and instantly I know if I've gone too far.
Excellent. That's great. That's a great question too. Thank you for sharing that. Got another one here. I've often tried HDR with buildings, especially old architecture or historical sites. I often have trees and their canopies in my frame. However, in HDR, the leaves create a problem because they're moving and ghosts appear in HDR. Is there any Lightroom or Photoshop trick, or even any Photoshop trick to rectify this?
Yeah, so 2 ways to do this. First of all, you got ghost reduction in Aura HDR. You have it even in Photomatics. You have it everywhere. And that's the whole purpose of ghost reduction. Ghost reduction is going to take your underexposed photo, the one with the fastest shutter speed, the one with the leaf are the sharpest, and going to take that as a reference and try to make the leaf sharp. Because that's the HDR look I hate, is when the leaf are kind of like sort of blurry, or they look like a drawing or a painting. Sometimes it doesn't work. So if it's really bad, here's what I suggest. You do your HDR, Then you retouch the same photo for the trees in Lightroom, try to match the colors, and in Photoshop you bring back just the trees, which are really sharp. And so you have to use layers in Photoshop. That's really the only way. But ghost reduction is pretty good for that. That's really, in Aurora HDR that just came out, and check out the special offer I got on my website, photosearch.com. But you got a special price until the 20th of this month. And Aurora is amazing for that. You just click ghost reduction, and it's going to take the underexposed photo, and usually it does the trick.
Fantastic. Excellent. Here's an interesting question from Sandeep. He wants to know, what new features do you think Lightroom needs?
Okay, one new feature. First of all, to be faster, for sure. My dreams about Lightroom is, of course, it to be faster. To have like a backup system where all the photos can be backed up in the cloud, so that, because I have this issue all the time. Like, I travel to Paris, and some magazine call me up and they want a photo, and that photo is in my studio in Los Angeles. I use Backblaze as a backup on the cloud, but the problem is like finding the right photo is hell because there's no preview on Backblaze. It's really just a backup, I wish I had my Lightroom completely online. So that's one major update, I would love to see. Let me see what else I would love to see in Lightroom. I love Lightroom so much. It's hard to say what could be better. Really, speed is one issue. To make it a way so that it's just faster. Especially one issue I have is, and I have got like the iMac 5K latest generation fastest, with steroids. It's sometimes when I click on a photo in the develop module, I shoot Sony SLR2 46 million pixel, and sometimes there's a lag that's kind of annoying, especially when I do panoramas. So, but that's, we're shooting higher and higher resolution, so I guess that's, let me think in terms of tools. Tools that I've seen in other software that's not there. Yeah, the spot healing brush tool could be better. It's not that good. It's like I have to go to Photoshop all the time when I want to erase stuff, which is more than spots. That could be an improvement. And if there was a way to add layers in Lightroom, just simple layers where you could blend different photos or add a texture in Lightroom without leaving Lightroom and without going to Photoshop, that could be cool. Like sort of 2 raw files with different blending modes, for people who don't want to learn Photoshop, that could be cool. You have to think in terms of, it has to stay in a raw format, so it's a non-destructive workflow. And so there's limitations to what you can do. You can't replace the sky, for example. But you could have 2 raw files, have layers, maybe, I don't know, an idea.
Super. Just so everybody, this is exciting. We are now live on YouTube as well as Facebook, so it's working.
Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs, on YouTube.
And we have several questions pouring in from YouTube already. So I'm going to share a couple of these with you now. Should I buy a polarizing filter? Is it useful?
You know what? I never use it. I bought 5. I've never used them. They are good. The thing is, when I used to have the Canon 5D Mark II, I really needed a polarizer because the dynamic range was not so good, and it helps. It helps on the dynamic range. It helps to make the sky less white and more blue. It helps to get the water more transparent. And the truth is, I should be using a polarizer. I should, but I don't. I don't know what else to say. I have them all there, and I'm like, oh, I don't have a polarizer, and I should. I really should, but I don't.
And so what's it going to take for you to do that?
Just take the polarizer and put it on. No, but you get extra dust. And the thing is that the RAW files are so amazing today with Sony A7R II. I get so much of it. I'm like, I don't have a problem. Like, oh, yeah, I wish the sky was, less blown out. Oh, I wish the water was more transparent. I don't really have that issue. And also, one of the reasons I love Sony is now they have all the filters as apps that you can download and buy for $5. And, oh my God, they are amazing. The smooth reflection app because the big filter that everybody uses is an ND filter to make long exposure. The way Sony does it is amazing because you get no color cast. The problem with long exposure is from ND filters is you get a little magenta color cast, which I love magenta, but sometimes you don't want it. And some filters, some like $200 filter are better than others, and don't do that. But the smooth reflection app for $5 on Sony, oh my God. It's the only thing I use. You don't have to put a filter. Matt Kloskowski, which is a common friend to me and Mike, was telling me a story. He was in Iceland. It was freezing. It was like minus 20 Celsius, 10 Fahrenheit, so 5 Fahrenheit. And so with the app, you don't have to screw a filter, take your gloves off. You just put on the app and you're good to go. And you can do long exposure. That's just one of the advantages. But the main advantage is the image quality is better than in the filters. Better.
Nice. Very nice. So I've got a question here from Leo in England.
Bonjour, Leo. Sorry.
What do you think of the What do you think of the Sony 12 through 24?
What I think is that I'm buying it in a week. That's what I think. It's on my purchase list. I was just waiting for some money, and I'm gonna buy it next week. I love it. I love it because So I'm going to have the 1635 2.8, the 1224, and the 24 240. That's really my three main things. And I love it because I do a lot of astrophotography, and I can do it at f4, so I'm getting a little technical. But this lens here is 2.8, which is cool for astrophotography because you get 2 f-stop. 2 f-stop is a huge deal. It's 4 times more light than f4. But, so that means that I'm going to have to crank up the ISO more if I use a 1224. But being at 12 instead of 14 is a huge difference when you do astrophotography. And I don't care to be at like 2500 ISO instead of 1200 because I went to f4 instead of 2.8 because I've done so much astrophotography at 4000 ISO that I love. I'm like, what's the big deal, So yeah, I'm getting the 1224. Great lens. I looked at the reviews on it. I'm buying it.
Fantastic. What about, this person's asking about the Canon EOS T7 I. Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not. I heard about it, but I'm not familiar with it.
You're a Sony guy.
Yeah, I'm a Sony guy. I wonder if actually people can hear you, because you're on my Skype, and I don't know if people can hear you, but because they can hear you through my mic, but.
Oh, that's weird. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you loud and clear. I'm just wondering if people in Facebook or YouTube Live can hear you. Please, can you hear Mike, guys? Can you leave a comment either on Facebook Live or YouTube telling him? I was just wondering because we are trying this new, setup.
I'll keep an eye on those comments to see if.
Yeah, and what I'll do is I can repeat your questions.
Excellent. What do you think is the best camera lens tripod at a reasonable price for a beginner?
Mi Photo, no question. And I have not been sponsored by them. Mi Photo is a brand that has been sort of copying Gizmo in a way, but oh my God, their tripod is really cool. I think it starts at $130, and it's important to have a tripod. And now there is like a whole Mi Photo type of brands, MEFOTO. So you've got aluminum, usually like $140, or you can go fiber carbon and you just add another $100 and it's much lighter. I only buy fiber carbon, but that's what I do for a living. I'm a photographer, and most pro use fiber carbon. But if you're just starting, you can buy aluminum for like $130. You can find the links on my website, photoserge.com. I got a gear page where I created kits for like starter photographer. If you're just starting with Nikon, starting with Sony, starting with Canon, you can just go on my website. Actually, let me show you right now, and you can directly have the reference. I'm gonna go to, here I am on my website. If you go to my gear page, you will see I created different kits using a new technology called kit.com, which is here. Okay, so you got my Sony starter kit, my Sony intermediate. So it's based on money. If you don't have much money, this is the Sony. If you want to go the Sony route, that's the Sony starter kit. And you have all my recommendation, and I left a comment for every lens of why, and then why I think it's a good product. Then you got my Canon photography starter kit, so my Canon intermediate, my Canon advance, and then Nikon starter, Nikon intermediate, and Nikon advance for every brand. And so when you click on it, like the Sony, you click on it, Sony Alpha, you can see I recommend the Sony Alpha, and you see you have the Mi Photo tripod here, the aluminum version. And if you go to the advanced, you probably will find the Gizmo. Anyways, so yeah, Mi Photo is great. My wife used, what you can see here in the back is a Gizmo tripod. It's a $700 tripod. I've had the first version that I had for 12 years, it's called let me show it to you. This is my favorite tripod. This is what I do with all my photography, and this is an expensive one. It's a Gizzo. It's $700. The head is a BH420 from Really Right Stuff. It's super light, very stable, and it doesn't go really high. Sometimes I have that issue, but maybe like twice in a year. But I have it with me all the time. So Mi Photo does a very similar one that you can find. This is fiber carbon, and so I've had the original Gizzo mountain for 12 years. It broke after 12 years of maltreatment, bad treatment by me, going into the sand and sea is really bad. So now what I do is I have another tripod. Whenever I go to the beach, I don't use the Gizzo, I use a cheaper one that I'm not going to mention the brand because I didn't like the brand at all. So I use it just to destroy it in the sea.
It's your beach. So yeah. I've got a question here. Maestro Serge, I admire your work, but how did you get started?
Wow, that's a good question. I've always wanted to do something. I've always been passionate about movie making and I wanted to create art in my life. I was a salesman. I was selling websites. I was good at it. I was a VP sales for a company that was pretty large. And but I was making good money, 4 kids, nice house, 3 cars, a lot of mortgage and loans and, keeping up with all that. But I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to make movies. I wanted to direct stuff. So at the time I started directing shorts with friends. I took cameras and I started making shorts. But it was the thing I didn't like about it is because I want to create all the time. I'm obsessed with creation of images. Obsessed. It's very rare that a day goes by where I don't take a photo or retouch a photo. That's almost never happens. Even back in the day, at the time I was creating shorts, but the problem with shorts is, you need to get a team together. So it was really hard to create anything fast. And then one day I was on holidays with Kelvin Pimon, who is my best friend and business partner today, and we were in a Caribbean island. And we were with some other friends, and it was a very pretty girl. I took a photo of her with some point and shoot Sony camera, and he's like a Photoshop guru, and he took it into Photoshop, and he got the sky to be incredible. He cleaned up her skin, he erased stuff in the back, he put a title, and in like half an hour it was a magazine cover. And I realized, oh my god, a camera and a software, Photoshop at the time, I can create art. While I'm doing my movie thing, which takes forever, at least I can take photos, and I see a lot of movie makers today also being photographer because it's just a fast way to create art. I've always wanted to paint, but oh my god, it's hard. So photos, you can just go out there and take photos. So once Kelvin showed me this, I went back and that's a whole different story. I spent so much time trying to find the right books on photography until I found Scott Kelby books, and Matt Luskowski books, 2 good friends today. And which were the only book I could understand. I bought 8 books. I burned 7 of them because they were like for example, one of the worst book ever written for Photoshop is called Adobe. It's made by Adobe. It's called Classroom in the Book. Classroom in the Book is the worst Photoshop book ever. I'm sorry, Adobe, for bashing on them because the way they're doing it is they're trying to teach you everything. Like, oh, you go to filter. This is what that filter does. And what Scott and what I'm doing now and what Matt is doing is, okay, let's take an example and let's see how we can do this. It's example based and not menu based. So anyways, right. So that's how I got started. And I got so excited with the idea that every day I could create something. I think creation is the one thing that gets me going. I think food is what gets my body going, but creating art is what makes me want to get up in the morning and, and have a life.
So having said that, do you want to walk us through anything on Lightroom?
Yes, I wanted to walk you through on something on Lightroom. Let me pull up Lightroom here. I want to show you something cool. Something cool. I don't know if it's cool. Let me go. So you should be able to see my Lightroom now. And so this is a shoot that I did actually 2-3 days ago. A little story. There was no clouds in Los Angeles. No clouds at all. But a friend was there with me, and we just wanted to create something. So we just went to the closest beach that's close to my house. Is called Will Rogers Beach. I live in Woodland Hills. I have one canyon called the Topanga Canyon, and I'm right there in Will Roger Beach. It's 25 minutes ride. And it's great because it's a beach that's oriented west. So even if you don't have clouds, you can still get a nice gradient in the sky. So what you see here is raw files, completely boring raw files. And so I took a whole bunch of photos with the 14mm 2.8 I was talking about. So it's a manual lens. And so what I was trying to do is, let's see the... let's talk technical for a second. So I put my Sony at ISO 50. That's the great thing about Sony is you can go to a fake ISO 50. And so the sensor is going to be not sensible at all. So what I was trying to do is get a 1 second exposure, because with a wave, 1 second exposure, you get some nice drawing in the water. So what I do then is I go through my Lightroom, and every time I find a photo where the drawing is interesting in the water, I give it a 1. So this one I already gave it a 1, stare rating 1. This one I think the water is too confusing. Not bad, I'm going to give it a 1. This one is kind of cool. I give it a 1. And so that's what I always do. I show you the bad and the good photos. I just go through the photos. This one...
You have bad photos, Serge?
All the time. Look at that. It's completely blurry. It's bad. No, I changed the white balance. I was on daylight. I went to shade. That's why it's much warmer. Okay, that's that's 1.6. You see how 1 second... You see the difference between 1 second exposure... Or let me show you here. 1 second exposure, so you can see the flow of the wave. And now I go at 1.6, and you see how confusing it becomes. So I think I went down by to 0.6 now. I went from 1.6 of exposure to 0.6, and now we can see again the flow of the. I was trying to get like drawings from the water, So that's okay. I'm gonna give it a 1. I'm gonna give it a 1. I'm only looking at. Oh, look at that! I love that when the water comes, it makes because when the water comes, it makes leading lines. So I'm gonna give it a 1. I'm gonna give it a 1. And let's see here. This is not good, not good. The water is too confusing. Not good. Oh, this I like. I already gave it a 1 star. And then this is too confusing to me. This is not bad. Okay. Oh yeah, I like the flow there. I'm gonna give it a 1. I give it a 1 star. Oh, sorry. 1 star. I don't like the wave there. I don't like the waves there. Oh, I love the wave there. Okay, so I'm gonna give it a 1. So I'm not gonna show you the whole photo shoot, but just that. So now that I've given 1s, I go here and I filter. By clicking on this, I filter only the 1 star photo. And then what I do is now I'm going to give a 2 star photo. So I'm going to take 4 photos. I'm going to press N on my keyboard, Shift Tab, and now I can see. So these photos had which one am I going to give it a 2 star? So I think I like this one the best. I like the flow on this one. So I'm going to give it 2 star on this one. 2 star. Okay. And then I'm going to press Shift Tab again. Select the next 4 photo, Shift Tab again to go full screen. And so which one am I going to give 2 star to? Oh, this one on the right. I think it's a better composition. I got great leading lines. So I'm going to give it another 2 star. Okay, and Shift Tab again to go back. And that's usually what I do. I go through my photos and I got 3 left. Okay, this one definitely. Look at the wave, how it makes like a circle around. I'm going to give it a 2 star. Okay, cool. So now, Shift Tab, now I'm going to go here and now filter by 2 star. And I've only got 3 photos now. 1, 2, 3. And so now I'm going to look for sharpness. I'm going to look if this one is sharp because my tripod was in the water. And so it was moving all the time. Oh, this one is great. So I think I'm going to take this one. I love the wave on this one. And now when I retouch, now I want to tell you this story because I know I talk a lot by my signature preset, but you have to realize, and it's funny because it's such a mistake that I did. For years, I was not using presets that much. And then I realized that I was doing always the same operation as I was retouching my photos. And 2 months ago or 3 months ago, my publisher, for the first time, wanted me to do a color book on Venice, which I'm going to show you now. Just a little preview. Let me go to my develop module in my libraries. And so I wanted, and I had like 1,000 photos to retouch, and I wanted, and every time I was retouching photos, I was doing the same things over and over again. So let me show you so you can see the feeling of it. You see, that's, let me make the thumbnail a little bigger. So that's my Venice book. It's 90 photos retouched, selected out of, out of 100. And so when I did this book, I created what I call my signature preset, which I'm going to show you now with that shoot that we just did. Here, let me just take back that photo here, which is this one. I think I wanted to retouch. Yeah. So my signature preset is just a way to economize time. I'm going to go to my presets here. So I've got basically two groups. I've got best presets and special effects. I'm going to go to best presets, and the way the presets are made, they are made by time of the day. Blue hour, daylight, golden hour, lone exposure, night, snow photography, and sunset. Okay, and on this one, I'm just going to click directly on sunset. Let's see here. I think this one's going to be cool. Sunset linear. I can see a preview here. You see where my mouse, you can have a preview there. I'm going to click here one time. And oh, it did so much on the photo. And right off the bat, it's looking pretty cool. Now, because it's a sunset preset, when it's a sunset, I always check my sunset preset. I can take the sunset linear circle light or medium. So I've got medium, dark, and light. Actually, medium is better on this photo. Let me press I. Let's see here. I can go to the golden hour, and take the same one. You see, it's more subtle. Golden hour is nice. I can go to daylight, and check this one. It's a complete different look. And anyway, I think I'm going to go, because I'm crazy about heavy colors, I'm going to go to sunset linear circle. I'm going to take this one. And on this one, what I'm going to do is, the first thing you do when you have a preset, you see it did a whole bunch. The preset does over 60 operations for you in one click. One click. There are 60 instructions being done on that one photo. And all I have to do on this one is maybe adjust the exposure. You know what? And I'm going to click here on the radial circle. Here, the radial circle, because I know that my preset has one for the sun. You see, this is the sun. And what I can do is I can move it maybe not that much here, but maybe more in the middle of the photo. But now it's getting over that rock. So I can click on brush. I can click on erase, auto mask is on, and I can erase that sun effect from that rock. So you see, I still have to work a little bit on it, but the preset gave me 60 operations that I don't need to do. So I'm just taking off the color cast from the rock here. Okay, so I'm happy with that. And now all I'm going to do is take a brush, go to exposure, and boost the exposure, make sure my feather is 100%, flow and density low. And I just want to put more emphasis on this flow of water here, especially this part here, because I think it's kind of really cool. You know, that part here. And I'm just dodging the photo. I'm making this brighter, maybe a little bit here. And voila. And, you know, I'm basically done with the retouching. I want to put it more pano, less sky, because there's no clouds. Let me go in full screen mode and show you. So you see how in 20 seconds using my signature preset, and I had no idea if it was going to work. You know, my signature preset don't work for portraits so much. They work for landscape, but they were good. So that's, you know, any questions on that?
We have so many questions, Serge. It's incredible, and there's no way we're going to get to all of them today. But we're going to be doing this weekly, and so, you know, just a very short tutorial, just to show you a few things. But we're going to be answering your questions on a weekly basis. So I'm gonna hit you with a couple more before we wrap up. Okay, Serge?
So do we know if people can hear you? I'm still in a mystery.
They can hear me. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Getting lots of feedback that I am loud and annoying. No, I'm kidding. So let me got a few more questions. So this person wants to know what time, when you're looking to do some sunset photography, what time should you show up prior to sunset to get the best shots?
1 hour, 1.5 hours. If you want to really, like, ideally 1.5 hours, 1 hour minimum, because before sunset. Sunset lasts 27 minutes usually. Before sunset, you got what we call the golden hour. It lasts roughly an hour. So you have to be there because sometimes golden hour is better than sunset. So, and to be secure, to have time to find framing, I would say on the safe side, 1.5 hours before sunset. Before the beginning of sunset. I always shoot 1.5 hours before beginning of sunset until the end of sunset, and even half an hour after the end of sunset. So it's, even if there's no clouds, I still have a 3 hours per day time where I can have fun.
Excellent. What are your thoughts on the future of photography and movie making in the next 10 years?
Well, then I'm going to be part of it. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I think we'll have, more. I hope we come down to. Okay, that's just a personal note, but I find that movies are getting really darker and darker these days, and TV shows are getting very darker and darker. Don't get me wrong, I love Game of Thrones, but I hope we get more Star Wars and more Indiana Jones and more Back to the Future and this type of the very uplifting type of movies. I really hope we get more of that. With amazing CG effect now, because we can do anything in CG. In fact, I'm working right now. I wrote a script which I really like. It's really a movie I'd like to see, and I'm trying to figure out to shoot the first 3-4 minutes of that movie, which is crazy. It's super VFX heavy. And by the way, for this project, I'm looking to hire a photographer in Cairo. If you know anybody who lives in Cairo and who's a photographer, I'm going to hire you because I need some photos from Cairo. Anyway, send me a personal message if you're from Cairo. That's just a little note. Anyway.
Excellent. Here's another one. In your Lightroom adjustments, I noticed you bring up whites a lot. Does that give more of a punch as it seems it does?
Yeah, so let me show you. I'm going to go back to the monitor. So the whites, I didn't do it on this photo. I usually check it. So you hold on the option key and you click. You see that's a big mistake because that's completely blown out. So I'm going to back down the whites. In case because if I leave it this way, and if I print, it could be like just white paper. There's no more information. So I'm going to go like this. So I just go to the limit. The whites, I go to the limit of before it gets 100% white. And I think a photo, in my photo, I like to go from pure black. So let me show you the pure black. Pure black, see these dots in yellow, red, and black are pure black. And so there is about 1% of the photo of pure black, and there is 0% of the photo of white. That's my ideal scene, because I know I got a good contrast there. Let me go back to me. Yes, Mike.
Why do you prefer Lightroom? Why do you prefer to work in Lightroom more than Photoshop?
Oh my God, because it's so much faster. Did you see what I did? If I had to do this in Photoshop, it would have taken me an hour instead of 5 minutes. Because Photoshop doesn't really have a way to deal with, 25 photos that I just showed you. You can do it with Bridge, and it's just not made for that. Lightroom was made to do, and not talking. There's no preset in Photoshop. There is preset in Photoshop, but they don't take into account radial filters and linear filters, which I use all the time. So I just couldn't work if I only had Photoshop. It's just not possible. I spend 95% of my time in Lightroom and 5% in Photoshop.
Wow.
For the reason I just demonstrated here.
Right. So we are coming up to the end.
Okay.
I've got another question here, Serge, before we start to wrap it up. When making a photo book in Lightroom, do the photos in the collection have to be JPEGs?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
The question is, when making a photo book in Lightroom, do the photos in the collection have to be JPEGs?
No. Could be. Oh, JPEG. No. Doesn't matter. Once you've done with the book, you can either load it to blurb and they will anyway convert to JPEG, or you can make a PDF and it anyway will convert to JPEG. So whether your source is a RAW file, retouch, or JPEG, doesn't matter.
Fantastic. Let's got a couple more here from YouTube. Let's see. Best place for photography, in your opinion?
Wow. That's like asking what food do you like the most or what movie you like the most. I mean, cities, of course, New York, Paris, Venice, Florence, Rome, Berlin, even pretty spectacular. I mean, it's a lot of European photo. In the US, I would say the nicest cities to photograph is New York, Chicago, LA, San Francisco, small villages like, Carmel by the sea, and many other places that I don't know. National parks in the US are big, amazing. All the national parks. In December, last December this year, no, last year, I did like 6 national parks. I went from LA to, Death Valley, Zion National Park, I forgot which, then Grand Canyon, then I went to the Antelope, Bryce Canyon. Anyways, so national park in the US, I mean, there's so much beauty on this planet to shoot. Usually in your courtyard there is beautiful. If you go into any countryside, you can find some cool stuff and cool composition. If you've got a great light, I mean, you can take a garbage can with a good sunset; it'll look good.
Fantastic. Do your presets work with Photoshop as well? Do your signature presets work with Photoshop as well as Lightroom?
They only work in Lightroom. They don't work in Photoshop because Photoshop does not take radial filter, and radial filter are a big part of my signature preset.
How do you transition from very good amateur photographer to making money from photography?
Well, it took me 2 to 4 years, and I could have done it faster before I started making money with photography. And honestly, it's very simple, and I tell that story all the time. And this is a long story, so I'm going to make it short. You train and you practice. I used to watch 20 hours per week of tutorials, no kidding. Every week, 20 hours. So I was a salesman. I was working from 9 to 6. At 6, I would go and do like a couple of hours of photo. Then I would have dinner with family. And then instead of watching TV, around 10, I have an iMac in my room. And I would watch tutorials. And I did that for 4 years. So it was 2 hours of training, 2 hours of shooting per day while doing 4 kids and my job. I got to a point where I got good. I got to a point where I at least had 20 photos where people were like, oh my God, it's great what you're doing. And so what I did is a website with only these 20 photos. And that's when I started making money. If you've got a website with 100 photos where 20 are amazing and 80 are average, you will not make money. Pros will not hire you. You need a website with only your best of the best of the best. That's the short answer. And of course, social media is a big part of it.
Sorry, I just cut out there for a second.
Sure.
So you suggest when they have this website and they have these high quality photos, like what are they doing? What do you suggest? Like, how are they making money? Are you saying that they can get gigs from that? Yeah,
because when you have a body of work, so first of all, it has to be the same idea. So you do portrait, you do food, you do whatever your weapon is, but you need at least 10 to 15 photos which are amazing. And then you can go on, and you have to post them on social media, of course. I actually have a course called the Photography Business Masterclass, which I show you exactly all the steps how I started making photography in real estate and in interior design photography, which if you like landscape, interior design, like shooting hotels and restaurants is a great way to start making money. Portrait, harder. Weddings, cool. Like let's say you want to be a portrait person. Well, then do 3 or 4 weddings for free, but make amazing wedding photography, like best of the best. Have a Squarespace website with the best of your photo, then put an ad out or do some Facebook ads on weddings, and you will get business. To the degree your website has very little photo and each one of them are breathtaking, you just put an ad out as a wedding photographer. If you're into real estate and if you're into landscape, then real estate and hotel is a great way to start making money. But this, you have to make phone calls or you have to go see them. Again, same idea with only 10 breathtaking photos.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
Yes.
If you like, Serge has some pretty amazing presets, as he's been showing you this Serge Ramilli signature preset series. If you'd like to check those out, Serge, do you have the link for that?
Yes, let me show you the link. Let me just go back here. Actually, I don't have the link. You didn't get. Can you send it to me on Skype?
Yep, it's there. You should have it there on Skype.
Okay. So, we should have prepared this. So there you are. Oh, yeah, I see the link. So, yeah, I got the link there. So yeah, so that's the link now. I don't know. Can you put the link? Yeah, the link is on the YouTube video. Can you put it on Facebook?
Yes,
So
I actually just put it in Facebook, so it should be there. So if you want to check out those signature presets, you can just click the link in on Facebook.
yeah, and that's the best offer that we have on the preset. This is now that's $27 for 300 preset. It's not just my signature preset, which is the what I showed you, and then the special effect, but you also have portrait preset. It's really, I've been working with preset for 7 years. It's really my best 300, basically, and you can get it at a good price, $27. It's this is the preset I've used to do my entire Venice book. This is a preset I use every day, and I will do more and more videos showing them because I got a lot of email of people saying that it was the best $27 they ever spent. And not to brag, but I'm really happy about them. Anyway, check it out. It's a great offer. You can get the presets and right there.
Yeah, and we were having this conversation the other day, Serge, and we were talking about how there are box sets out there that you can get like 5,000 presets, and and I think one of the things that you mentioned to me was, well, yeah, you can have like an unlimited number of presets, but it can be more of a confusion than it can be at times.
Yeah, the thing is, even with a 300, I only load like 100 at a time, which is my signature preset. 300 is max. I mean, it's already a lot. So, over 300, it gets really confusing. So I think this is a good number,
Right. And they're your best of your best.
And they are the best of my best. And it's check out. It's the best offer. It's an offer because you're seeing this live. That link is only for people watching this video live. So check it out and post some photo and tag me on it on Facebook so I can see what you do with my signature preset. I can't wait to see what you do with it.
Do you have a hashtag that people can post photos that they use your signature presets with?
Yeah, hashtag photo Serge. That's what I look on Facebook and Instagram. Hashtag photo Serge. That's what I look. So if you have a photo, what you can do, try to take some of your old RAW files, and that's actually what I think what we're going to do next week. Next week, if everything goes fine, I'm going to ask you guys to send me some of your RAW files, and I'll show you how I retouch them, and I will start with my preset most of the time.
Super. Serge, it was an absolute pleasure. We had some amazing feedback from YouTube and Facebook today, so I'm excited to be back next week at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, every Thursday. Ask Serge. We will see you then.
Yes, and so thank you very much, mesdames et messieurs, and I will see you next Thursday, and check out my presets. You will love them. Au revoir.